Good evening.
Good evening, Doctor.
Right. Okay. Today is the first session of our Biology 2027 class. And before beginning the proper class, I would like to tell you some details. I'm Dr. Nalin Abeysinghe, and I think all of you can see the screen.
Yes, Doctor, can see.
Okay, thank you. Right. So, this is theory classes for biology advanced level, A levels, and we are targeting the 2027. And I'm Dr. Nalin Abeysinghe. Uh, I'm currently working at Sri Jayawardenepura General Hospital, and this is the institute we are. Then, in your exam, you'll be getting two papers, right? Especially in your first paper or the MCQ paper, we can call it single best answer questions. The number of questions related to each unit in the question paper is determined proportionally to the number of time periods allocated to each respective unit, right? That means if like you can see the fifth unit, animal form and function, is given 195, nearly 200 periods. So that is 1/3 of the syllabus. So even 1/3 of the total questions will be given from this unit. So you have to study this. That doesn't mean that you don't have to study other units, but this bears a much weight in your syllabus as a single unit. So you have to uh, do this thoroughly. So like 1/3 of the marks will be carried by this unit. And the other one is the next one, which bears the highest number of periods, is this number 2, unit number 2 and unit number 4 as well. But there are much lesser time slots being allocated, right? Okay. So you'll be getting two papers. Biology paper 1, which is allocated 2 hours, and there are 50 multiple choice questions in there. And you can see the last 10 questions, that is 1 to 40, will be in one format, and 41 to 50 will be in a slightly different format, where you'd have more than one option, but you have to mark one answer. I'll show you how, right? So if you take this question, right, see, I just wanted to highlight this, right? Because we'll be discussing everything in detail, like when we are discussing questions. Just I'm giving you some introduction. Say now, all questions from first question to 40th question in your MCQ paper are same. You have to mark only one answer, right? Here also you have to mark only one answer in the answer sheet, but that answer, you can see, if you mark 1, that represents A, B, and D. A, B, D. If A, B, D is correct, you have to mark 1. You have to mark 1 in your answer sheet. If A, C, D is correct, you have to mark number 2 in your answer sheet. If A and B are correct, you have to mark answer 4, answer 3 in your answer sheet. If C and D are correct, you have to answer 4 in your answer sheet. If any other response, any other combination is correct, or none are true, none are correct, you have to answer as number 5. So we'll go through this question, because I don't know whether you all have attended any classes before. I'm just telling you a simple question, right? We'll be discussing those stuff in unit number 2 and 3 as well. This is just a small question. It asks you to select the response or responses which indicates or indicate examples for 5 adjacent hierarchical levels. So it is clearly telling you to now, you have to, when you are getting a question, you have to see what are the keywords. You have to find out what are the keywords, right? They are asking you to examples for 5 adjacent hierarchical levels. Now, you will be learning. Now, even in today's lesson, I'll be teaching you, I'll be telling you all, the biological world, the living world is organized into a hierarchical system. You start from simple molecules and you will finish up with the biological globe. So bio globe, right? So that's important. So from that onwards, you have to see how the hierarchy is arranged. So it asks you to find out the adjacent hierarchical levels. So adjacent means one after the other. There can't be any lapse in between. So we'll see how it goes, right? And they are telling those are examples, not the real category they are mentioned. They are giving an example to the category, right? Okay. So what is cellulose? Cellulose is a molecule. Trachea is a cell you find in the xylem system. It's a cell. In other words, it's a cell. So you get a molecule and you get a cell. There is something lacking behind. The in-between connection, why? That is organelle. There are small organelles, right? The molecules, after the molecules, you get organelles or subcellular components like mitochondria, chloroplast, Golgi apparatus, nucleus. All are the small parts which will get together to form a cell. So that part is lacking here. So cellulose and trachea are not adjacent items, right? We'll leave it for some time. And xylem, okay, cell, after the cell, xylem is a tissue. Yes, that is there. They are adjacent. Then after the xylem or the tissue, you get a root. Root is an organ. Root is an organ. Okay, the tissue is there. Then the organ is there. After organ, the organism has been mentioned. Organism. Now this is organ. This is organism. There is something lacking in between as well. That is organ system. Root system. Root is an organ of the whole root system. So it should have been mentioned in this part. So it's lacking here. Root system is not there, right? So for the time being, we'll keep this thing aside. So mind you, when you're answering questions like this, don't come to like abrupt conclusions first, right? Don't come to conclusions at once you see the question. You have to analyze all 5 steps, right? Mind you, never ever come to a conclusion just by looking at the question. Okay, this is the answer, right? No, you have to see, you have to go through. There are tricky points. So we'll be going through everything, but there'll be tricky points, right? So, okay, DNA is a molecule, right? After molecule, there is a nucleus. Okay, again, right. Now the subcellular organelle is there, fine. Then, okay, cell is there. Cell is there. Then comes the brain. Brain is an organ. There is a cell. Tissues are not there. Tissue, nervous tissue is not there. So that's missed. That is missed. After the brain, you get nervous system. Okay, that's also there. Brain is part of the nervous system. Organ system is there. No, this part is missing there. So that one also we'll keep aside. Then see, now this level is little higher than what we have discussed earlier, A and B. See, nervous system. Nervous system is organ system. Organ systems get together to form a organism. Okay, deer is there. Deer is there. It's okay. This one is there. Then organisms get together to form a population. Okay, herd of deer. That is also there. That is also there. Then populations get together to form a community. Community. In a community, you get all the living organisms in that particular area. Right? Animal community, plant community, right? Animal and plant community. Everything is there. Now, that's the next. All are adjacent. Nervous system is adjacent to the, or the organ system is adjacent to the organism. That is the immediate lower hierarchical element of the organism. Then herd of deer is the immediate hierarchical upper level to the organism. And then you get the community. Then the communities will interact with the inanimate world or the non-living material to form an ecosystem. So that is, this is the ecosystem, dry mixed evergreen forest. It's an ecosystem. So all are linked together. They are adjacent hierarchical levels. Adjacent hierarchical level. Right? So this is an answer for the question. One answer. We'll go to the other one. ATP is a molecule. Molecules get together and form organelles. That is mitochondria. Okay, they are close together. Then there is a thing called eosinophil. You might be not knowing eosinophil is a cell in your blood system, blood tissue, right? Okay, it's a cell. Cells get together to form a tissue. Blood is a tissue. It's an accumulation of various types of cells. It's called a tissue. It's the next level of your hierarchy, right? And tissues get together and form organs. So heart is an organ. So these are all linked together. They are adjacent level of the hierarchical system. This can be taken as well. C and D, right? C and D, right? Then other one, ribulose bisphosphate. You will learn about this molecule during photosynthesis, and this is a molecule. Then chloroplast is an organelle, subcellular organelle, right? Then you get mesophyll cell. Mesophyll cell, very good. Okay, mesophyll cell is a cell, right? Mesophyll cell is a cell. It's part of a tissue. Then what you should get immediately after? Mesophyll tissue. It's not mentioned here. Only you are getting a leaf. Leaf is an organ. Organ system is missing. Leaf is part of the shoot system. Leaf is a part of the shoot system of a plant. Shoot system comprises of stems, flowers, fruits and leaves of a plant. So it's a shoot system. So shoot system has to be mentioned here in between leaf and plant. It's not mentioned. So what we get, plant is an organism, right? So what we get here, C and D are correct. So you have to mark number 4 in your answer sheet, right? So that is the trick. That is the trick. So don't get messed up here. Don't get messed up, because if something is true here, say one answer is true here, say A is true here, so the answer must be number 5, right? Any response other than this. But if you mark 1 in your answer sheet, that's wrong, right? So always remember that this is tricky section. So with repetitive exercises, you'll be learn how to get through it. Don't worry about that. I'm just telling you because this is the only like tricky part, paper, right? Okay, biology paper 2, you'll be given 3 hours with 10 minutes of extra reading time, right? Part A, there are 4 structured essay questions. There are 4 structured essay questions. And part B comprises of essays. So you have to answer 4 essays out of the 6 given. So it's on your choice. You have to select 4 questions out of 6, right? Then how the marks are allocated. Paper 1, in certain years they have given 1 mark per each and they got 50 marks. In some years they given 2 per each question and it will be total to 100, right? So it might vary, don't worry, but the paper 2 is something fixed one, right? Sorry, the spellings are different. The structured essay is allocated 100 marks each, and so it will be 400. Essays, it will be given 150 marks per each into 4, so it will be 600. So the whole second paper will be total to 1000 marks and it will expressed as a percentage of 100, right? So that's it. This is the introduction, and we'll be talking a lot about this, right? How to answer questions with each unit, with everything. We'll be talking all those things. And so we'll start the proper lesson. Right. So this is the first lesson you can write. I'll be giving the recording as well. If there are any questions, you can put in the chat. So the first stuff we are going to talk today is the introduction to this subject. This is really interesting subject, but remember, since you all are doing A-levels in English medium, you all are planning to do the subject in English medium, and this is a science subject, you will find a lot of material for this particular subject, because most of the science is expressed in English, right? So it's a good choice. You all have selected to study this in English, but the issue is there is vast amount of material, resources available. They are in the web, there are enough books, right? And remember, I forgot to mention in the introduction, your textbook is Campbell Biology. I'll show you the book, your textbook. But I must say, better not to read that book, because you have 2 more subjects, physics and chemistry, to study, and this limited time duration is there, right? Only 2 years, and the amount to be studied is, I must say, threefold of what you have studied for your O levels. So it's a huge amount you have to study. So don't waste time on studying unnecessary things, because once you go to the university, you can study anything for any depth. This is a bar exam which determines whether you can go to the university or not, and there is a very clearly defined syllabus for that. So follow that, right? And I'm giving the best for you all, right? So there is nothing which will come out of what I'm teaching, right? This note, it is you the all the answers for your exam in 2027 will be there in the note, right? So it's a standard thing, right? You might see different questions because people used to do questions from 1990. Even I didn't do for my A levels questions from 1990, but I did my A levels in 2001, right? I studied from 1991 because we were the second batch to sit in 3 subjects, right? So we didn't have much of past papers, only one past paper we had, right? Others were in botany and zoology, right? Syllabuses got changed at 2000. So we got botany and biology, botany and zoology questions, right? So we had an issue, but still we were not supposed to study like more than 10 to 15 years of time. But now you all are getting 30 years, 40 years old questions, and you can study, but the problem is when you see something which is not in the syllabus, you'll get upset. Then you are going behind it for unnecessary reason because you won't get that question in the exam, right? 90 is too old. 1990 is too old to study. Anyway, I'm giving all the questions which have come from 2001, from my paper onwards, right? So don't worry, right? Because people say like even now, even we do from 2001, your syllabus starts at 2017, right? This syllabus is 2017 syllabus. So it will be again renewed in 2028. So any question which was given before 2017, you have to see whether it is answerable or not, whether the answer is there in your notes. If not, probably that question is all syllabus 1, right? You have to be particular when answering questions, right? So having said that, because better not to waste too much of time, because the things, if you spend time to study things which are not in the syllabus, you're just wasting because they won't come to the exam. Believe me, right? That's how I did, because my task is to tell you how did I do my exam. That's my objective, right? And it was tested fine. It was tested success. I got through, right? So and I got selected to the med school. So there, so this is tested. That's why I'm telling you. So they won't ask you any question beyond the syllabus, even though they ask. And definitely that will be picked up during the session where they make your marking scheme. So it will be taken and it will be given full marks if it is not in the syllabus, right? So don't worry, right? Fine. Okay. Right. So we study biology is a science. Biology is a science which is focused on studying living organisms. But we have a problem. We have a problem defining what life is, right? We have a problem defining what life is, right? Especially with the emergence of discovering or looking for, with the emergence of looking for extraterrestrial life, that is life out of this planet Earth. Now the scientists are looking for life outside the planet Earth. So with that objective with life, the giving a definition for life is becoming much and much harder and difficult, right? So because now, because if you define life, now when we are going through the process, you will see there are 7 components which will define life, or the features or the characteristics of life or the living organisms. But you can't include all those 7 features into a definition. Why? If there is a definition, all living organisms should show, or they should be included into that definition. Because of that, it's been difficult to define what is life and what is not, right? And this matters especially when talking about evolution, the evolutionary process, right? The evolution is something part of the living organism. It's a feature of living organisms. But when you go and study about viruses, it's a bit difficult to see because they are obligatory intracellular parasites. Okay? They only live in cells, right? They make copies using the host cells environment, host cells material, right? These may be harsher terms for you, but they use someone else's materials and resources to reproduce, to produce their copies, right? So viruses, in other terms, they are not living, but they are counted as living organisms because they show other features of living organisms, right? So there is a bit of a confusion giving a definition about the life. So scientists are unable to provide an acceptable definition to life. So we have set of characteristic features of life, and there is no definition for life up to date, right? So the primary branches of biology are botany, where you study about plants; zoology, where you study about animals; microbiology, where you study about microorganisms, right? Okay, then under those 3 branches, we study these areas, right? Cell biology, we do study about cells, right? In zoology, there is a cell biology part. In botany, there is a cell biology part. And in microbiology also, we study cell biology. Zoology, animal cell. Botany, you study plant cell. Microbiology, you study prokaryotic cells. Those are different cells, right? Microbiology, that is bacteria, viruses, right? In microbiology, we study those things, right? They have prokaryotic cells where there is no organized nucleus, right? So in different areas, we study cell biology. Histology, we study about tissues, different types of cells gathered to obtain a function, right? So that is histology, right? Anatomy is the gross structure of the body. You study the gross structure of the body in anatomy. Physiology is where you study the functions of organisms, how they operate, how they work, how things work inside the body, how a hand is raised, how we chew food, what will happen to the food we ingest, right? So that is what we study in physiology. Biochemistry is something in towards the micro world, right? Where you study about biological molecules. What are the chemicals involved in organism's body? How they interact? What are the biological reactions? What are the optimum conditions where these uh, reactions occur? What are the outcomes? How do they happen? How this how the environmental factors, internal body factors influence those reactions? So those are the things we study in biochemistry. Then the genetics. Genetics is studying inheritance. Inheritance is your parents. Your parents transmit their characteristics to their children. How this happens? Now, a particular pair of parents, particular couple of parents have number of children, sons and daughters. Most of the time, they are not same unless they are identical twins. They are not same. How it happens? But if somebody can see any of those children, they can see, they are their children. They look. But they share different characteristics of parents. Say, one son got eyes like his father. One daughter got earlobes like her mother. Right? So this hairline is another morphological characteristic. So how do the skin color, the color of the eye, the specific parts I'll mention later, right? So they get characteristics, even not like the external features, even the organic or the chemical substances being produced inside the body will be the coding will be given from the parent. So that's important, right? That is heredity. You get characteristics and features from your parents, right? Right. So that is how it happens is the study of genetics, right? Then the ecology. Ecology is now up to now we are studying about the living matter organism. Here in ecology, we are studying the environment. We are studying the environment, the things around, the things around us. What are the things around us, right? How do we interact, right? These are the things which we study in ecology, right? How the maltreatment of these things in the environment will affect the world, right? What are the problems we are going to have, right? Okay. So then there are certain aspects of biology where we have certain issues. There are peculiar things pertaining to biology, right? These are the questions which are they think these are the issues pertaining to biology, and it's mentioned in your syllabus, and we have to study it, and you'll be getting questions. We already got questions from this part, and we'll see, right? So one of the main issues pertaining to biology is understanding biological diversity. So this passage and the next slide also emphasizes how important this question is, that is understanding biological diversity. You have to have a sort of a knowledge, right? Or you have to have sort of a assumption how big the biological world is. How big the biological world is. So that's what we are telling here, right? So our planet or the planet Earth is rich in diversity. Our planet Earth is rich in biodiversity, right? Rich in biodiversity. So there are various there are a huge number of plant species. There's a huge number of animal species in this world. Even they say there's a huge number which is yet to be discovered. Right? So even scientists, they couldn't find most of the species, right? Many species still were not discovered, right? So the life on Earth formed around 3.5 billion years ago. It's quite a long time ago, not low, like it's you can't imagine 3.5 billion years, right? Have this number, you have to by heart this number, right? Various text, various information in the web will tell you various number of years. But for you all who are sitting for GCE A-Level Biology 2027, you have to have this number registered in your brain, right? So it's 3.5 billion years old, right? That is when the life on Earth is formed, right? Then the other thing, who were the first organisms? Very first. Oh, there should be some organisms. Now they are telling the life has formed around 3.5 billion years ago, right? Then there should be something which should be mentioned as life. If they say life on Earth formed in 3.5 billion years ago, there should be something which represented life at that particular time. These are all assumptions, right? Now, in Unit 3, we'll be talking about this Big Bang theory and everything. But all these are assumptions, theories, right? Theories. And there are certain evidence we find here to prove that this has happened. But nobody has seen this, like recent activities, right? Now, Hiroshima Nagasaki event is history, but there are people who have seen it. There is evidence. It's recent past. But these are not so. Everything is like you gather evidence, you see things, and you see how the things are flowing in the timeline, and you go backwards and assume this would have happened in the past. This would have been the event where the life started on Earth, right? So that is what they assume, right? Assumptions. Homo sapiens are very good in assuming things, right? Other animals can't do it. The only distinctive feature which distinguishes us from animals is our imagination. Know that. If somebody asks you, animals can't imagine, right? Animals can't imagine, right? Can you promise a bunch of bananas to a if can you ask a monkey to get you some bananas and promise him to have a rebirth in heaven, right? Can you tell, right? Okay, you give me a banana, you give me your banana, and you will be born in heaven in your next birth. They never believe. They won't give it. Right? This is not like in our language, right? If you say, but same thing you can do for a human being, right? And you can convince them, and they will do it. Nobody has seen heaven. We have a faith. So faith and beliefs are only in humans, right? Just something outside, just for the interest, right? So the first formed organisms are believed to be heterotrophic anaerobic prokaryotes. So I'll explain one by one. Heterotrophic. So that is the nutrition. That is the way they acquire nutrition. That is the way they acquire nutrition. Right? We have autotrophs and heterotrophs. This is heterotrophic. Obviously. Why? Autotrophs are ones which produce their food by their own, or who acquire their carbon requirement by themselves. They acquire food, or they acquire their carbon need from within themselves. Right? They produce their own food within their bodies. They are called autotrophs. Right? Can somebody tell me what are the autotrophs you know of? One single example for autotrophs. Can someone put in the chat? Yeah, green plants. Yes, very good. Green plants, right? They are autotrophs. Cyanobacteria, very good, right? Keshikan, yes, right? So they produce their own food. Are we autotrophs or heterotrophs? We are heterotrophs because we can't produce our own food. So we have to depend on the food which is manufactured by someone else, right? So we are heterotrophic, and plants, cyanobacteria, they are autotrophic, right? Then what is this anaerobic? Anaerobic and other word is aerobic. Other word is aerobic, right? A-E-R-O-B-I-C, aerobic. So anaerobic means they don't need oxygen to survive for obvious reasons. Now, when the world is formed, right? When the life is forming on Earth, there is no oxygen, hardly any oxygen. So these organisms would have been dependent on some other air, or they didn't want air at all. So they're anaerobic. They didn't want oxygen at all. So they're anaerobic, right? Anaerobic. So even in respiration, there is anaerobic respiration, which produces lactic acid. We'll be discussing those things later. So first organisms, they were anaerobic. So they didn't want oxygen for obvious reasons, because oxygen wasn't there. Till the photosynthesis is established, oxygen wasn't there. Oxygen is a byproduct of photosynthesis. So there were no green plants, right? When there were heterotrophics, how come there are autotrophs? Because for oxygen to have, there should be photosynthesis. For photosynthesis to occur, there should be green plants, right? So without green plants, you don't get the simple stuff, right? Few years ago, we heard that there was a person who said, is oxygen there for to eat, right? He didn't know that oxygen is not to eat, just to breathe. It's the main thing, right? If the breathing stops, if you don't have oxygen, you can't survive. Not only humans, whole the animal world now is destroyed without oxygen. So somebody is there to ask whether it's to eat oxygen, right? That's how our people are, right? Okay, then prokaryotes. Now, this is something, the formation of the nucleus, something related to the formation of the form of the nucleus and the cellular organization pattern. There are prokaryotes and there are eukaryotes, or the ones having true nuclei and those are having pseudonuclei or false nuclei, or organized nuclei and unorganized nuclei. Prokaryotes, they don't have an organized nucleus. That is, their genetic material is not surrounded by a membrane or a covering. There is no covering for their nucleus or the genetic material. The main idea. There are other distinctive features as well in prokaryotes, but the main thing we'll be learning in detail in cell biology, which is the second part of the second unit, right? Prokaryotes, they don't have an organized nucleus. That is also you can think of, right? Now, when this question comes, who are the first formed organisms, right? You can say, okay, they are heterotrophic, they are anaerobic, and they are prokaryotic. So you have to tell that in terms of the cellular organization, right? The gas they have used, or the gas they have used for their functions, whether oxygen no, whether they were dependent on oxygen or not, and their nutrition acquisition. How did they acquire nutrition, right? So in those terms, they are heterotrophic, anaerobic, and prokaryotes. We are talking about understanding biological diversity, right? Since then, this evolutionary, that is, since the formation of these heterotrophic anaerobic prokaryotes, they formed in the water, right? They formed in the oceans, primitive oceans, right? Those are called primitive oceans. These organisms, those heterotrophic, anaerobic prokaryotes, are formed in primitive waters, right? And from there onwards, up to now, it resulted in extensive biodiversity, which exists in the biosphere now. Biosphere is the globe or the earth we are living in, right? Right? Biosphere is the globe or the earth plus the organisms there, living stuff here. So scientists assume, right, based on their studies, there are about 10 million to uh, over 100 million species. 10 to 100 million species are found in the world, right? They assume. Okay, right. So there is a dynamic relationship. Dynamic, what is meant by dynamic and static? What is meant by dynamic and static? Static is something stationary. Something stationary, right? What should I say, right? That means if you go through a sort of a, say, there is a moving car. You have a speedometer on the car. It shows the speed of the car. It shows the speed of the car. So it gives the instant speed. Whenever you increase the speed, it gives higher value. When you reduce the speed, it gives a lower value, right? So with the time, it shows the fluctuation of the speed. So it's a dynamic reading you are getting on the run. It's always active. It always active, right? You don't have it. Now, if we say static, the car is stopped, the engine is switched off, and the car is static. It's not moving, right? In simple terms. Same like the living matter and the non-living matter or the inanimate world, they have a dynamic relationship on the run. They are having very live relationship. They interact with each other every time. Every time. There is no instance, you can say there is no instance where there is no interaction between the living and non-living. It's always connected. They are interacting. They take things, they give things. They take things, they give things. Right? As an example, so continuously living organisms die. Living organisms die continuously. And they being absorbed to the non-living matter once they die. So that is very good interaction between living and non-living. Even at the point we are talking, even the instance we are talking now, even the movement we are talking now, people die, animals die, so many people die. There are thousands and millions of organisms die. And what will happen? They'll absorb to the biosphere. They will absorb to the soil. They will absorb to the air. That happens, right? Microorganisms die, right? Large elephants die, right? We all die. So once you die, your whatever the physical body is absorbed to the ecosystem or the soil, right? So it's a dynamic process. It's never ending process. So that's what it's telling. The variety of life on Earth, the number of species of plants, animals, and microorganisms, the diversity of genes in these species, the different ecosystems on the Earth, such as deserts, rainforest, and coral reefs, are all part of biological diverse Earth. Right? So we are like talking about the biological diversity, how diverse the biosphere is, how diverse the living world is. So we have to understand the depth of this diversity, right? Okay. Then the other issue which we need to sort it out is the human body and its function. So as I mentioned you, right? Animal form and function. Unit number 5. It has been allocated. It has been allocated 195 periods or time slots for that part, and that is totally dedicated to talk about animals with special, giving special highlight to the human body, right? So especially when talking about biology, you have to study histology and anatomy of the human body, right? So that's how you gain the knowledge about the structure of the organs. Right? When studying biology, especially by studying histology and anatomy, you have to write this note. Now, later on you can do it because I'm giving you the recording. But from next class onwards, you have to write the note while I'm dictating, right? I'll dictate it. But today, you can get the recording and write the note down. Have a like 200-page single rule book and have multicolored pens, right? And have your own notes, right? You have to write this note and highlight the important things because I have highlighted in various colors, right? But you have to do it, right? You have to do it by your own. That's how you remember things, right? There are no shortcuts. If certain things are remembered, because biology, there are things you have to remember. You have to do it by yourself, okay? Right. So this results in understanding the appreciation of the organization of the human body and understanding the functions of different organ systems and the relationship between structure and function. How the how the structure is related to the function, right? It's an evolutionary thing. To achieve a particular function, there is a structure. There is a structure. The structure is something which will let you, that particular organism, to carry out that intended function. So there is a structure function relationship, right? To understand that, you have to know the anatomy and histology of that particular organism, right? Okay. Number three. Right? Sustainable use and management of natural resources. Sustainable use of management of natural resources and environment. Natural resources are sources of material and energy found naturally. This is a definition, right? This is a definition. Don't forget it, right? You have to have, because this may be the only place where you get this definition. So you have that definition in your this thing, right? So it's a material, or like it's a source of material and energy found naturally, which are used in everyday life and for economic development. Right? So all those words are important in the definition. So those are sources of material. Those are sources of material. It's not the material itself, it's the sources. Right? So if you take salt, right? We never thought that would be a problem, but now it's a problem. Salt is a little deficient, right? But now if you take salt, the source of salt is the ocean or the sea. That is the natural resource, or the sea or the ocean, not salt itself. The sea or the ocean is the natural resource. So sources of materials, the sources, right? Sources. So if you produce solar energy, there are solar panels. From that you can produce energy, electricity. Then the natural resource involved there is sunlight, and that's a renewable resource. Those things will be mentioned in the ecology as well. And if you take furniture, to manufacture furniture, you need wood. Wood is taken from forest. Forest are natural resources, and that is renewable. They are you can replenish them naturally, right? And you get poultry, fish, all are from wild animals, right? And you have domesticated some animals as well. So those are also renewable resources. Those are renewable resources. Then there are other resources which are not renewable. Can you mention one or two here which are natural resources, but they cannot be replenished, right? They get used continuously. Very good. Yeah, fossil fuels. One more, please. Coal. Yes, very good. Fossil fuels, coal. Minerals like gold, iron, and copper. And metal like aluminium, uranium. They are all utilized. They are not renewable, right? Okay, very good. So these natural resources are limited on Earth, and because of the increased growth rate of human population. Overuse of natural resources is taking place. So overuse occurs because of the increase of growth rate of human population. All these natural resources are exhausted. They are being utilized heavily because there is a overuse of uh, overuse of uh, material, right? Okay, fine. Right. Then, due to overexploitation, because of the increasing growth rate of humans, there is overutilization, overexploitation of natural resources, right? Natural resources. So, because of that, various environmental problems arise. One thing is environmental pollution. If you burn too much of fossil fuels, there is too much of carbon dioxide being released to the biosphere or your environment. So that will have deleterious effects, and we are experiencing those things. So environmental temperature is going up, right? And you would have known that there is a gaps being formed in the ozone layer, which is cutting the ultraviolet rays or bad light or bad irradiation from the sun. Now it's being damaged, right? Because of this. So there are so many issues. And that is called environmental pollution, right? Acid rains, all those are consequences of this thing. And loss of biodiversity. Yes, loss of biodiversity. Certain insects, certain like ladybirds, when we were small, there are a lot of ladybirds when you go out to the garden, but it's hardly them to see these days, right? It's very hard to see them these days. Very rarely you see ladybirds, right? Because the biodiversity is only certain species are there from time to time. Other uh, animals are lost. And desertification, that is formation of deserts. So all those happens because of the over exploitation of natural resources, right? Hence, to overcome the above problems, management of natural resources and environment should be practiced. You have to manage how the natural resources being utilized, right? How the environment being utilized. You have to manage it. Otherwise, it will be a disaster in future. So knowledge of the biology is very useful to bring remedies, especially to alleviate environmental pollution, right? To preserve certain endangered species, right? Hence, to slow down the loss of biodiversity and prevent the desertification. You have to have the biological knowledge. You have to have the knowledge of the biology. Right. Then, sustainable food production. This is very important, right? Like, because we all depend on food. And it's sufficient amount of food for the human population using environmentally safe methods. So the methods used to produce food should be environmentally safe as well. It should be sustainable. Sustainable means it should be there forever. Like it is not like sorry, this year you have enough food stocks, next year you don't. Or say there are plants which will produce their crops once in a year. Next time, because when the crops are not taken, right, there is no food. That is not possible because we need food every day. It's a regular there should be a regular supply of food. If it is not there, that's because then how do you do it? How do you do it? Because that is mainly targeted on human population. We need continuous supply of food. That is called sustainable food production, right? So for that, before that, you have to identify the problem. See, the current human population about 7 billion and expected to be double in less than 40 years. Now, if you say, if you um, go through the web, if you go through the web, you will see this is not the real value. This is not the real value at the moment. This is something they have put. This is something they have put in 2017, right? Okay. So current world population, I think it's 8 billion, 8 plus billion. It's more than 8 billion, right? So what will happen? Now, definitely there is a high potential to ask this kind of a question in the MC. What would happen? What would happen? Still, you can write this answer without any issue because that is mentioned in your syllabus. If someone writes 8 billion, definitely that one will be given marks also. And if someone writes 6 billion, that's wrong. Sorry. Because this is, so you can see from 2017, it has come to like 1 billion rise. 1 billion means 1 into 10 to the power of 9, right? Billion is that. So see how fast the population is growing. They say it's being expected to be doubled in less than 40 years. So therefore, for the survival of human beings, sustainable food production is necessary. Right? To maintain sustainable food production, these methods should be applied. You have to have high yielding varieties of plants and animals. That is, you have to grow or you have to research and grow plants and animal varieties which will give high crops. Animals or the poultry which will grow fast, which will produce more meat. Plants which will produce many fruits per plant and that will mature in a short period of time. So that is all is biological knowledge which is necessary to achieve these things. Then production of disease resistant varieties of plants and animals. Now, if you grow many plants in a field, right? They are planted very close together. There is a high risk of spreading infections, high risk of spreading diseases. So at the same time, producing high yielding plants, you have to have the strategies to make them resistant to diseases. And you have to have improved post-harvest technological methods. Know this term, post-harvest technological methods. That is, after crops being taken or after harvesting, there are certain ways the crops being destroyed or the harvest being destroyed. What are those? During the harvesting process itself, there is a significant amount of crops being destroyed. Significant amount of crops being destroyed during harvesting. The way you pluck things, the way you pluck, the way you take the fruits out, right? During the process itself, there is a significant proportion of harvest being damaged or destroyed. Then the transportation, then the storage, right? All there are pests, right? Mice, right? And there are various pests which are damaging, right? So you have to have methods to prevent that thing. So they say 40 to 60% of the harvest is being damaged. So more than half of the harvest is damaged, right? So you have to keep that thing in mind, right? It's a bit difficult, right? It has to be addressed, right? Okay. Then understanding plant life, like animal life, you have to know plant life, right? They are the primary producers. They are the primary producers in the world. Whatever food chain you take, the initial step in a food chain is the first step in a food chain is a plant or green plant, right? You would have seen in your O levels or primary school that you would have studied food chains. You know, grass, deer eats grass, and deer was eaten by the tiger or lion, right? The simple food chain there. So it starts with grass, plants, right? Right. So therefore, understanding plant life is important. They are the primary producers. You might understand the depth of the issue, but without plants, you can't survive. We all can't survive because they are the primary producers. Whenever there is a food chain, the starting step of the food chain is a plant. As the time passes, human population increases, hence the productivity must be increased. We have discussed that thing in previous part as well. Therefore, understanding plant biology is essential for producing high-yielding plants, disease-resistant plants, etc. Of course, right? Then, understanding diseases and causes. That's part of understanding animal life as well, or the human body as well. But they have mentioned it as a separate point. To maintain healthy human body, one should have the knowledge of causes of the diseases and their effects. Some dangerous diseases which exist in current world are non-communicable diseases such as cancers. Non-communicable diseases means spreading from one person to another is communicable. Those infections, they are called communicable diseases. You get common cold, right? Common cold. Then these all those bacterial infections, all are communicable diseases. It spreads from one person to another. COVID, that's why we took measures to prevent the spreading of the disease, transmission of the virus. So you would have heard a lot during that period. So those are communicable diseases, especially infectious diseases. These are called non-communicable. That means they don't spread from one person to another. They have certain things or the risk factors in person's body, or the causes developed within the particular person's body, right? When you take cancers, mostly they are genetic and the interaction of the person with the external environment. The certain chemicals might increase the risk of cancer, like asbestos in lung cancer likewise. So there are certain things, they are not communicable. So that's what they are saying, that non-communicable diseases such as cancers, heart disease, diabetes, chronic renal disease, and communicable diseases. Communicable diseases spreads from one person to another. Dengue, AIDS, HIV, sexually transmitted infection is the HIV is the transmission human immunodeficiency virus, right? And acquired immunodeficiency syndrome is AIDS, right? That is the later stage of the HIV infection. Dengue is not directly spreading from one person to another, like within droplets or anything. There is a vector. We call them vectors. It's a mosquito, Aedes aegypti. There is a mosquito which spread dengue, right? There are dengue viruses. There are 4 groups of dengue viruses. And if one is infected with that particular virus, the mosquito is the carrier which takes that virus from that person to another. Right? Right? Okay. So to understand the nature of those infections and non-infectious diseases, you have to have the knowledge of biology or medical sciences, which is a branch of biology. So cancers, the cause is not fully understood. Still, we are not fully. Then you might ask the question, why then you all are treating cancers without it's not being fully understood? Yes, but what to do? If you don't treat, people die. So the whatever the knowledge we have will be utilized to treat them, but it's not fully understood. Still, it's on research. There are one after another, thousands and millions of researchers are coming into the scene, but still there is no, the whole thing is not fully understood, right? It's one of the leading cause of death as well. AIDS is a viral disease. Now, AIDS we understood fully. We know how it happens, right? We know the natural course of the disease. What will happen, we know. So we are managing people with AIDS with that knowledge, right? It's a viral disease which is a serious and growing health problem worldwide. Now, even there are a lot of patients being detected in Sri Lanka. It's becoming a health hazard because those days, like 5 to 10 years ago, it wasn't much a problem, right? Patient numbers were static, like 800 being detected, 1000 being detected. But now the detection rate is high. We are detecting people like very high number of patients being detected because of our practices. So that is a growing issue, right? Now all those African countries, European countries, Americas, they had this issue. But now they are in a plateau line. Our issue is going up. So that has to be addressed. Heart diseases. This is also a serious and growing health problem worldwide. Causes are not fully understood yet, as they say, right? Then there is something which is happening in North Central provinces. There is a kidney disease, chronic kidney disease of unknown origin. CKDU is unknown, right? Unknown. So it's a serious health problem. Still, there were various assumptions. There were various suggestions as to the cause, but still there is a definitive thing has not been confirmed, right? Now, currently, these scientists are working on prevention, remedial measures, that is curing, treating, and cures for such diseases, right? Okay. Then solving some legal and ethical issues. That is, knowledge and application of biological concepts is important in solving some legal issues. Parentage testing. parentage testing, right? Now, especially when people die, someone will suddenly come out and tell that I am this person's son or daughter and I own his property, or there are certain issues related, or there are legal issues where the parenthood has to be checked, right? Right now, as students learning biology, you should have an idea about that, because if like your relatives, somebody, like if they get to know that you are learning biology, they will ask those simple things, right? How it's being done. Now, the news is going through, news is coming. There are various things you hear, right? So, the knowledge of biology, especially knowledge of genetics, are applicable for this parentage testing. How a particular person's parents are identified, right? If that person, we call them, we call him or her A, and there are suspicious people around, we call them B, C, D, E. So you take sample of blood where you can extract that person's DNA from there, and sample of blood or whatever the cells which contain DNA from B, C, D, E, and you can match them. You can compare those DNA, and definitely you can have a definitive match if the parents are there in the group where the B, C, D, E are there, right? So it's a parental testing, right? To identify the parents, biological parents. You can have this, you can have your biological knowledge applied to this, right? In criminal investigations, where suspects can be identified, right? Especially now we know the Easter Sunday attacks, which has happened in 2019, right? The main ringleader, called Saharan Hashid, was identified among the Shangri-La remains. You don't see any dead bodies as whole there. Only parts were there. When there is a blast, only parts of uh, tissues and body parts are there. So you take samples and you go through other suspected. Now, if somebody is telling, or if there is assumption that somebody is involved, that person's relatives are around, you take samples from those relatives and match. If the samples are matching, you can be sure, you can be certain that this person was there among the criminals who engaged in the attack, right? Most of the terrorists being identified like that. Even in whatever the criminal, the rape victim, so the murders, everywhere, you can use this DNA technology to identify. We'll be learning those things in molecular biology lesson, how these things being utilized. So criminal investigation, and to solve immigration disputes. That's also an important thing. Immigration disputes means when people migrating from country to country to obtain visa, they claim that they are related to one particular family already being citizens of that country. So if there is a suspicion, the authorities can check their DNA, and check whether that is linked to that particular family in question, right? They can compare. Other one is looking for certain diseases, right? Certain chronic diseases, right? Infectious diseases like tuberculosis. Certain countries, they don't accept those people with chronic diseases as their citizens. So to solve those immigration disputes, the biological knowledge is very important, right? Okay. So let's have say 5 minutes of break. 5 minutes of break, and we'll continue with the rest of the class. We'll start the next half. Nature and organizational patterns of the living world. Nature and organizational patterns of the living world. Not word, sorry, there is a spelling mistake. Living world. Living world. In accordance with different criteria, we can see a diversity among living organisms. We can see a diversity among living organisms in accordance with different criteria. There are like the diversity being discussed or diversity being explained in different criteria. So what are those criteria? They are diverse based on size. There is a huge diversity in the size and the shape and the form and the habitat. We'll explain one by one. So what is size? If you take bacteria, it is 0.25 micrometers. 0.25 micrometers. That is, micrometers is 1 millionth of a meter. If you divide a meter, 1 meter, into million segments and take that tiny segment out and divide that one also into 4 pieces, bacteria is that size, 0.25 micrometer and 0.2 micrometers, right? They are such tiny things, microscopic. You can't see them into naked eye. Then you will see the giant redwood or sequoia. That is their genus, redwood plant. For the time being, we remember that name. It's 100 meters in height. Huge trees, large ones. So there is a diversity in size from tiniest microscopic organisms to huge, massive structure, massive organisms. And the shape. There are various shapes, right? Cylindrical shape. Cylindrical shape. Cylindrical shape is, it's like a cylinder. It's like a cylinder, right? I'll draw cylinder. This is a cylinder now, right? They like a cylinder. Then this other word, you might be knowing this, streamline shape. That is something like this. It's a basic shape, right? The basic body shape. The basic shape, right? It doesn't mean that birds and fish are all like this, but the basic idea is they are wide in the middle part of the body and narrow in the ends, right? They are narrow. So that is called streamline shape, right? So there are various shapes and there are star-shaped organisms, right? Starfish, various shapes. So fish and birds are streamline, called, right? Then the form, how the body is formed, the arrangement of cells, right? Unicellular organisms. There are so many unicellular organisms. One is amoeba, right? Bacteria are unicellular organisms. Amoeba is the example they have given, but most of the bacteria, all the bacteria, they are unicellular organisms, right? And multicellular, like humans, animals. We are multicellular. We have millions and billions of cells inside our bodies, right? So that is coming under form, how the body is formed, one cell or multiple cells. Then the habitat, the places they live. Terrestrial is ground. Rats live in holes, dig in the ground, so it is terrestrial. Aquatic is living in water, fish. Arboreal is living in trees. Loris is a one. aerial. Birds in part, they are arboreal, but mostly they are found in the sky. So they are called, their habitat is called aerial. Yeah. Likewise. What about humans? What is our habitat out of these things? Can someone tell us? Can someone tell us, please? Can someone tell us? Yeah, we are terrestrial. Good. Keshikan, thank you. Right? Okay. So, fine. So that's how we are organized. That's how the biological world is organized. Right? This group is good. You all are answering. Right. Then this is the last part we are going to discuss for today. Right? Now, we told that there is no definitive definition. There is no exact definition for the life, for life, right? There is no exact definition for life, right? So, but we have a set of characteristics which differentiate life from non-life, right? So you'll be getting MCQ questions, essay questions, and so many structured essay parts where you'll be asked these things, right? So this is very important thing, but up to now there wasn't an essay being given. Essay was given, the complete essay, but we can expect, if not in 2026, you might get an essay question. Discuss about the characteristics of organisms. 150 marks essay question. So you have to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And there are simple things to mention. When you are going through, you can see there are only simple things you have to mention. We'll see one by one. Okay. So in order to survive, each organism, whether simple or complex, must be able to perform certain functions. Following features are the characteristics of organisms. These are the characteristics of organisms, right? You might not understand these things at the outset because these are certain words. Everything will be explained. You can write down order and organization, metabolism, growth and development, irritability and coordination, adaptation. All maybe all a part of the thing is new to you. Reproduction, heredity and evolution. Heredity and evolution. Right. We'll talk one by one. Order and organization. Order and organization. Now, there is a well-planned, well-organized hierarchical system from molecular level to the biosphere. Biosphere in the biological world, right? So that's what it says, from molecular level to biosphere, there is an order and organization in organisms to perform their biological activities efficiently. To perform the activities efficiently, there is a organizing pattern. So I'll show you one thing, right? Can you see this? Can you see this? Right? this is the something like this slide we are talking later, right? But for the organization, see, there is a molecular level. There is a molecular level, right? And from there, the molecules get together and form organelles, right? Molecules are there. Molecules get together and form organelles. Organelles, for example, you know, mitochondria. In plants, there are chloroplasts. There are Golgi apparatuses, endoplasmic reticulum, lysozymes, all are organelles. Nucleus is the largest organelle. Then organelles get together to form cells. Cells. Various types of cells and certain material get together to form tissues. Tissues get together to form organs. If you take organ, there are various types of tissues inside organs, right? Stomach is an organ, heart is an organ, brain is an organ, right? In plants, root is an organ, leaf is an organ, likewise. So organs work in concert to form organ systems. Now, if you take digestive system, you have pharynx, esophagus, stomach, right? Likewise, the organ components in the organ system. If you take blood, if you take cardiovascular system, your heart will be there, your arteries will be there, your veins are there, your capillary system is there in your cardiovascular system, which is an organ system. If you take your nervous system, you get your brain, you get your spinal cord, you get your peripheral nerves and all in your nervous system. It's an organ system. So organ systems get together to form an organism. Now, below this level, all are inside a living organism, right? All these ones, sorry, from this level downwards, all are in one single organism, right? From here onwards, from this level above, it's when you are interacting with your surrounding. So up to now, this is inside one single organism. Up to now, up to here, right? Then this is outside world, right? So organisms get together, organisms from one type. Say the question we discussed, deer population, human population, particular, we can say crow population of crows, right? They get together to form that population of that type. Then various populations get together to form a community. Animal community, plant community, animal and plant community. All are living organisms. So up to now, up to this level, it's only living people. Only living matter is there. Once these communities start interacting with the inanimate world or ecosystem, it will become a ecosystem. Inanimate world, when the animate world or the living organisms communicate with non-living material, it becomes an ecosystem. Living people communicate with each other and the non-living thing, it's ecosystem. Then now we have given examples for ecosystems, deserts, rainforests. There are various ecosystems. Even if if you lift a rock in your garden and there is an ecosystem underneath the rock, right? There are various small insects are there. They interact with each other. They interact with the soil underneath the rock, right? It's a small ecosystem there, right? Fish tank is an ecosystem, right? Then all those ecosystems will form together to form your biosphere. In other words, it's the earth or the globe we are living in, right? So it's a biosphere. This is the organizational level, how the things are arranged. So for that, we have given examples and we discussed a question there, right? Okay. Okay. So that is about the order and the organization, right? So lower level components, now we see, we have seen that lower level components are organized in a methodical pattern in upper level to make it most efficient. Molecules are organized at the organelle level to make the organelles more efficient, right? Cells are organized into a tissue to make that tissue more efficient. Tissues are organized into an organ to make that organ more efficient. Organs are organized into organ systems to make that organ systems more efficient. That's how it works. So ultimately, everything is organized to make the biosphere more efficient. Right. So lower level components are organized in a methodical way in upper level to make it most efficient. Right. So plant leaf is organ. So mesophyll tissue is organized with other tissues to make that organ. And human eye, if you take, there are various fibrous tissue is there, epithelial tissues are there, blood tissue is there, all those things to make, right? All the tissues are get together to make that the organ called human eye to work efficiently. Nervous tissue, everything is gathered together to make that particular component function efficiently, right? Okay. Then we move on to metabolism. That is the second characteristic of life. So the sum of all chemical activities taking place in an organism is its metabolism. The sum of all chemical activities taking place in an organism is its metabolism. It's a totality of all the chemical reactions or the chemical activities taking place in an organism. In broad division, these chemical reactions are categorized into or divided into two parts: anabolism and catabolism. Catabolism and anabolism, right? Catabolism is breaking down, right? Catabolism is breaking down. Catabolism is breaking down. You break down things. So what do we break down? We break down complex molecules. We break down complex molecules into simpler ones. So large molecules, they have energy stored inside in their bonds. We'll be learning that in the next section. Large complex molecules have energy stored inside their bonds. There's a potential energy being stored or the chemical energy being stored. When those complex molecules being broken down, that energy is released to outside. So that happens. So releasing energy. So catabolism is set of reactions in living organisms, that break down complex molecules into simpler molecules or simple ones, releasing energy in the process. So example, cellular respiration, where the complex molecule of glucose is broken down into simple molecules like carbon dioxide and water. H2O is a small inorganic molecule. Carbon dioxide is small inorganic molecule. They are simple molecules. It's broken down into simple molecules. Hydrolysis of proteins. Protein is a big structure. If you take one protein molecule itself will be a microscopic one, but there are thousands and hundreds of thousands of amino acids are linked together to form a protein. So proteins are divided into small amino acids and where the energy is released, right? So hydrolysis of proteins, complex molecules being broken down into simple molecules where the energy is released. So the process is catabolism is breaking down of complex molecules into simple molecules and the energy is released. The other way around, gathering small molecules, simple molecules to form complex molecules where the energy is absorbed or it requires taking energy in, small molecules will gather to form complex molecules, that is anabolism, right? You can see set of reactions in living organism that build complex molecules from simpler ones, typically requiring an input of energy. There is no output like before, it's input. What is that? Photosynthesis, where simple molecules being used, carbon dioxide and water being used to produce complex molecules like glucose and oxygen. Oxygen is a simple one, but we are often concerned with glucose there. So it's a complex molecule being formed and it requires energy. We'll show you how it happens and that is formed. Then protein synthesis, hydrolysis of protein, other way around protein. The you can see, but the process is different. Reversal of respiration is photosynthesis, but technically that is not the exact reversal of the process, but the ingredients are different, right? The protein ingredients are same, right? Protein synthesis, where you have amino acids linked together to form protein, right? Right? So that happens. So that is metabolism. Okay. Then growth and development. That is the third characteristic of living organisms. Right. All living organisms, they begin their life as a single cell, right? We all started our life as single cells. Remember, right? You might not understand this, but we started our life as a single cell, right? Then from that single cell, we have come such a long way to the state we are currently in, right? So growth means irreversible increase in dry mass. Irreversible increase in dry mass. You can't reverse it. Right? It's an irreversible. You can't reverse it. Then somebody might ask, people do lose weight. No. We have seen. Right? We tell people, you have put on weight. Did you lose weight? Right? They lose weight. What is really happening? Dry mass. Dry mass. When you're talking about dry mass, you have to remove water and fat. So whenever you put on losing weight, your fat and water component will be altered, not the dry mass. Increase in dry mass is irreversible. It's the growth. It's the growth. It's the growth. Right? Okay. So that's different. So irreversible increase in dry mass occurs, which is characterized by the living. It's dry mass. Now, even whatever the cancer, whatever happens to a person, can you take that particular person to where he was born, at the state where he was born? Right? Usually the baby's weight is 2.5 kilograms. Right? Average adult human is 70 kilograms. You lose weight, lose, and you can go to 50, 40, like in worst case scenario 30, but you won't go to 2 kilos. Right? So that is irreversible. You can't come to the original state. It goes up, right? It goes up. It irreversible. That is the dry mass. Then irreversible changes that occur during the lifespan of an organism is development. Irreversible changes, whatever the change which happens, right? That means from the embryo, right? There is a small tube of blood which will develops into a heart. Once the heart is formed in the embryo, now you get a simple tube-like thing, right, in the body, right? That will develop into a heart. I'll just draw a heart, right? It's not the real thing. So it'll develop into a heart, right? Right? This heart won't come here again. This won't come here. This won't develop into the tube again, right? This is irreversible. Always happens in one direction. Once the brain is formed, it's there. It won't be reversed into the primitive structures again, right? Right? Irreversible changes that occur during the lifespan. So we call it organ development. Organ development. Brain development. Brain acquires certain functions which are not reversible, right? Organs acquire certain functions which are not reversible, right? So that's it. Okay. So that's it. Growth and development. So growth is different. That is, growth is totally, that is irreversible increase in dry mass. Development is something bigger picture. That is irreversible development, irreversible changes that occur during the lifespan, right? Irreversible changes, whatever a change, right? Whatever a change happens, which should be irreversible, right? And that is development, right? The childhood, we say the developing child. You call it developing child. The children, they are developing children. Their brain is still developing. Brain is continuously. From the day you born, the brain is acquiring functions. The body is acquiring. Now, you would have seen the newborns, they just cry. Whatever happens, they just cry. After some time, they start walking, right? They try to sit, then they try to stand, they walk, they acquire certain skills, they start smiling, right? They start showing expressions. All those are development, childhood development. We call them developmental milestones in children, right? And there are certain thresholds, certain ages at which you have to, you have like those ages are the latest ages where the a certain developmental milestone should be achieved. As an example, just as an example, by the age of 3, if the child can't walk, there is a developmental delay we take, right? There's a developmental delay. If a child can't babble, if the child can't talk at least a single word by certain age, we call it it's a developmental delay. So it's the functions, structural changes, or behavioral changes which we acquire over time, which are irreversible, are called development. But there are exceptions for that. In certain diseases, there are reversal of these developmental changes, because you would have seen people lose their ability to talk after a stroke or something. These are exceptions, but in broad terms, development is irreversible changes, because this becomes reversible because of a disease. But in normal people, it's irreversible. Yeah, if there is a disease, it happens. But in normal, we talk about uh, living world, normal living people, normal living animals and plants. In that sense, development is irreversible change that occur during the lifespan of an organism. And growth and development are two consequent processes that happen in the lifespan of organisms. They work together. They work as a result of each other. So, development can't work in isolation from growth. The organ has to develop, or the organ has to grow before it's developed, right? So this tube of heart should develop. So you can see it's enlarged. So that is growth. It should grow while it is being divided into 4 chambers. So that is called development, right? It's two consequent processes, right? Then number 4, irritability and coordination. Irritability and coordination. Before that, I must talk about a stimulus. Without the knowledge of the stimulus, you can't talk about this. You can't talk about this irritability and coordination. So, what is a stimulus? Stimulus. This is definition. Any detectable change. It can be a physical or chemical in an organism's internal or external environment. Internal or external environment, right? Internal or external environment that provokes a response or functional activity, right? For it to be a stimulus, it should provoke a response or functional activity in that organism. And it should be detectable, right? For it to be a stimulus. Now say a boy is walking on the road. There is a girl going next to him. If that boy doesn't look, it's not, the girl is not a stimulus. In other words, that means that particular object is not potent enough to provoke a response or a functional activity, which is looking back in that particular organism, right? So for it to be a stimulus, it should be able to make a detectable change in the organism's internal or external environment, and it should provoke a response, right? Now, one thing is this temperature in the body. Its temperature is maintained in a close range. Mind you, in biological systems, that is in animals and plants, there are no particular set single values. There are no single isolated values. There are ranges. Most of the time, biological variables have ranges, right? There is a lower one, there is an upper one. So there is a range for that. Temperature range. You can't say 37 degrees Celsius is the normal temperature. There is a range. There is a very narrow range. Say 36.8 to, right? 37.9 or 37.5, we can say. So each and every biological variable has a normal range. You can't say 37 is normal, 36.9 is abnormal, right? There is a particular range. So for it to be a stimulus to provoke a response of the heat generating or heat absorbing system, or the system to prevent heat loss, right? It has to be there should be a stimulus. Stimulus is if the temperature, like this is an example, right? If the temperature goes beyond particular point, it's not definitely 37. 37 is the median or the average normal temperature. But say if it goes beyond 37.5, then the body starts losing excessive heat, right? Like a heating system, right? They like you know that in a refrigerators, air conditions, there's a thing called thermostat. Air conditions don't work continuously. When you set a temperature, say 26, it will drop the room temperature to 26 and then it stops. Then the cooling system stops. The fan is working. The cooling system stops. Then again, if the temperature rises 0.5 or 1 degree above that thing, again, it starts. Same thing happens in the refrigerator. So for stimulus to be active, it should be able to provoke. Rising temperature is the stimulus, not the normal temperature, right? There are so many things around us, but most of the things don't provoke any response or functional activity within us. So they are not stimuli in that definition, right? For stimulus, for it to be a stimulus, it should be a detectable change, right? Okay. So there are external stimuli and internal stimuli. External means they occur outside. That is light, temperature, sound, chemicals in the environment. They are all external stimuli. Internal stimuli, there are changes arising from within the organism. Like hunger comes within, right? Thirst comes within. When the body's water is depleted, you feel thirsty. Fluctuations in the internal body chemistry. Fluctuations in the internal body chemistry. Internal body chemistry, right? Then we come to the proper thing, because we've been discussing this thing to help the stuff. Irritability is the ability to respond to stimuli from both internal and external environment, right? Irritability. Irritability is the ability. It's an ability, right? There is a detectable change occurring in the environment which should be able to provoke a response or functional activity in the organism. For it to be a living organism, it should be able to respond to that particular stimuli. There is a stimulus. External environment, there is a stimulus. High temperature. If it's a living organism, it will respond to that particular stimulus. That's why it is a living organism. They respond it, right? If there is increased light, if it's a bright light from the sun, what will happen? What will happen to the eye? What will happen? It will reduce the diameter of the pupil, right? Okay. So that is the irritability. It is the ability. It has the ability to respond. Okay. Fine. Then coordination. Coordination is the process by which different organs, tissues, and systems of an organism, they work together. They work together in an organized and harmonious manner. What is organized? What is harmony? It's organized. They know when to act, right? Organized and harmonious manner. Well-organized system. Now, if you see a military force, right? If they are in a mission, each member of the team, they know their intended task. They know whom are there to, like, say, the hostage, recovering a hostage situation. They know their individual things because they are organized. There is organizer or the leader. He allocated jobs to each other. They know exactly what to do. There are people to open doors. There are people to shoot. There are people who are engaged in other plans. They say plan A and plan B. If there is a diversion of the plan, right? They are well aware. They are organized. They know what to do and when to do it. That is called organized. They are organized. Harmonious means they work together. No one is antagonizing others' work. That is the harmony. That is the harmony. If someone is doing his intended job, there is no one to antagonize him, block his work. So that is harmonious. They work in harmony. They work together. So that's an important function even in a team. If you are working in a team, you have to be organized and it will be harmonious, right? So even human body, this process is formed naturally. Our body systems, they work in harmonious manner to produce appropriate responses to internal and external. When producing response, our bodies work in a harmonious and organized way. That is called coordination. See, harmonious manner, organized manner. They work together, right? People do work together, but the efficient way is you have to work together in an organized and harmonious manner. Otherwise, if there is a hostage situation and people run around doing nothing, it's not efficient. Your whole focus is to achieve, like, recover the hostages, release the hostages, save the hostages, right? So then to achieve that target, you have to work together. So there should be organization, there should be a harmonious manner, right? Nervous system and endocrine system act as primary coordinating centers of the body. Now, as the team leaders, It's the nervous system and the endocrine systems are the centers of this coordinating activity. Nervous system is the one. It gets stimuli from your muscle system, your joints, your other senses. It gets feedback, right? Maintaining balance, right? Maintaining balance. If you tilt to a side, your joints will detect there is a tilt of the body. There is an inclination which might result in falling. It's being well fed. There is a set point for joints, right? When the joint is moved to a certain thing without your knowledge, if you are not intentionally turning it, if it's turned, the body senses, your automated system senses, okay, the body is not balanced. Then it generates a stimulus. It's a respondable stimulus. It has to be responded. Then your nervous system detects, okay, the joint is stretched or joint is turned too much, or joint is flexed or extended too much. Then what will happen? It will send message to the muscle system of that particular limb where you have to change the position of the joint. Then it sends. While doing that, you have to balance others. Right? Now, say if my hand is stretched, if my forearm is flexed like that, right? Say I'm in a other position, right? If by extending this forearm, if my balance is getting disturbed, then it uses another system to counteract that effect. So that is the coordination, right? Especially coordination is important in movement. When you are walking, when one limb is moving forward, you have to keep the pelvis or the hip bone and other bones and the other side of the body to balance the movement. Otherwise, people will fall, right? There should be a balance maintaining mechanism going along with movement, right? And hormonal effects. If one hormone goes up, there's another hormone should go down, right? When there is high insulin, glucagon should go down, right? It is coordinated by your endocrine system, right? We'll be talking those things in detail, right? Okay. Adaptation, number 5. It's something simple, right? Nothing to you can imagine those things, right? You can assume the stuff we talking here. Adapting is, right, getting used to some environment, getting used to an environment you are living in, right? That is, in simple terms, the definition is peculiarity of structure. Adaptation is a peculiarity of structure, physiology, or behavior that promotes the likelihood of an organism's survival and reproduction in a particular manner. It's very important for the survival and reproduction. That is the most basic things of an organism. Survival. First, the organism should survive. He should have an environment to survive. Without survival, you can't do any function which is intended from you, which is expected from you. First, you have to survive, right? That is one of the basic stuff. Wherever you go, wherever you work, wherever you study, right? Wherever you go, you first learn how to survive. Whatever environment, first make yourself established. Survival. Survival is important. If there is, you don't have any strategies to survive, it's a failure, right? So you have to survive first, right? You have to survive. It's important, right? So, then if you can survive, then the other thing is you have to reproduce. You have to, for organisms, they have to produce their progeny. They have to produce their children, or they have to produce their uh, after generation. So for those things, mainly there are certain peculiarities of their function or the structure or the behavior. That is, those things are called adaptations. Adaptations. So to survive in a particular environment and to reproduce in that particular environment, you have to have certain features called adaptations. Okay, what are those? There are examples, right? Sunken stomata. Sunken stomata. Right? I'll show you. See? Can you see? This is a cross section of a leaf of a xerophyte. In Sinhala, we call them pathok. The stomata is somewhere here. The stomata is somewhere here. Somewhere here. See, the red area is the stomata. Right? It's sunken. It's sunken. It's not in the surface. It's sunken. It's not in the surface. It's sunken. It has gone inside. Right? Because it's to prevent extreme vaporization. Now, in most of these plants, they have a wax covering in the leaves. So the water vapor, the vaporization of water only happens through the stomata, right? Aeration, the gases come and go through the stomata. So when there is excessive heat like in deserts, there is excessive evaporation or excessive vaporization of water gas through the stomata. So to prevent that, they are not directly exposed. They are sunken inside the leaf. So they are inside, right? So there is increased water moisture inside this tunnel, and there is no much of a water vaporization. So the water inside the plant is preserved, right? Then viviparity in some mangroves. Viviparity. We are anyway viviparous animals. We give birth to fully formed features. This thing, fully formed organisms, right? So they are like, especially in mangroves, you would have seen inside those fruits, the seed is already germinated, right? Or we call it the growing embryo eventually falls off and many may root in the soil or float until it finds suitable ground, right? We saw that in jackfruit and papaya also. You would have seen in some jackfruit, the seeds are already germinated when you are cutting out. The roots have come out, right? Especially in ripened jackfruit, right? Varaka velavage, you would have seen the roots have already come out from this thing that is called viviparity. Because if the fruit falls onto the ground, especially in mangroves, into the salt water, the fruit will get destroyed. But if it is already, the seeds are already germinated, can you see? Can you see in these mangroves, right? The roots have already come out, right? The roots have already come out, right? So, then they can be taken into other areas where once they meet like favorable environments, they can flourish, they can plant themselves. And the other one is played out foot in camels. They have wide base, right? Camels are there in deserts. They walk over those finely uh, grain sand, fine sand. So what will happen? What will happen if the foot is not like, the is pressure is force divided by area. Force divided by area. When the area is high, the pressure goes down. So that's what is happening. That is what is happening here, right? The foot is not sunken into the sand, right? So it makes them easy to walk over the sand because of now even if you take those vehicles which are desert vehicles, V8s and all, they have very wide tires. Even those drivers, those who have gone to United Arab Emirates or whatever the desert safaris, would have noticed before entering the desert, they reduce tire pressures. So the tires will be much flat during the safari. So that's what doing to increase the area which is in contact with the sand. Okay. Then the next thing is reproduction. It's part of the characteristics of living, right? Characteristics of living, that is ability to produce offspring for continuous existence of species. Ability to produce species or ability to produce offsprings. Offsprings is the progeny. What you produce, the living. The living produce living, which will take the lives after the original people or original organisms die, right? There is a continuation of life, right? That should happen. So that is called reproduction. Then heredity and evolution. What is heredity? Heredity is passage of the characteristics of parents to their offspring. Sons and daughters are getting the characters of their parents, right? The basic characters are there because the heart shape, the formation of heart, everything is dictated by these genes. The basic stuff is like there are particular species. Species is if two organisms can like reproduce fertile offsprings, they belong into a same species. Those things will be discussed later. But now the characteristics are passed from your parents to you, right? There are basic uniform characteristics of particular species. The human heart is always same. The variation is very narrow among individuals. So that is dictated by specific basic genes. But certain things are variable. Eye color, hair color, skin color, they are variable. They come from parents, right? So not only basic stuff, the other genes, they are coming from your parents. Basically, your characteristics, your function, your basic functions, your characteristics and your behaviors are basically decided by the genes which you get from your parents. That is called heredity. That is called heredity, right? We'll talk about genes, but just know the name, that is genes. Genes, they pass from one generation to the next and control specific physiological, Morphological is how you look like, your appearance. Physiological is your function. And behavior, how you act, how you behave, your certain things. Now, people used to touch their faces. I used to touch my face from my right hand. Likewise, if I feel sorrow, I stay like this. There are certain postures I acquire. That's the exact same way my father does when he's in that mood. But other people, when they are sorrow, they have different gestures. They use their left hand. They have like this, right? Various gestures. That is behavior. Your behavior is determined by genes. But things, that is the original determination. But with time, you can acquire, when you are living in different societies, the environmental factors might affect to change your behavior. That's a different matter. But basically, your basic behavior is determined by genes. Right? So then that is heredity. Then over time, over long periods of time, these genes which are being transferred from generation to generation are changed, or they are modified. We call it genetic modification. They get modified. They get changed. They get changed. They get modified. Okay. Then those modified changes are being transferred also. That is called evolution. That is called evolution. That's how, from a primate, from a monkey-like creature, the Homo sapiens have evolved. Over millions of years, over thousands of years, these small changes in genes accumulate over generations from generations. For a significant detectable evolutionary change to happen, you have to have 100 or 200 generations to pass it. Right? So it's not a quick thing. It happens, or we know Homo erectus, Homo hominis, right? Homo neanderthalensis. So many have come in this route in the evolution. But that happens. So evolution is a characteristic of living matter. It occurs naturally, right? Genetic modifications happen and they accumulate, right? Then non-living matter. We talk about non-living matter. Many non-living entities may have one or more of these, but not all 7 may have one or few, right? Crystals do grow. Waves move, right? We know there is wave movement. Crystals, right? Calcium carbonate crystals, they grow, right? But only living organisms display all these characteristics. All these characteristics are displayed by only by living creatures. By considering this, it can be said that these are occurring in single-celled organisms as well as highly complex organisms such as humans and anthrophytes. Right? Right? All seven characteristics occur in single-celled living organisms as well as multicellular, highly complex features. All 7 are there, right? Then we discussed this before. There is hierarchical level of organization. You have to memorize this, right? The cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life, you can call it. It's not organelles. It's not molecules which are considered living. Your living world starts here, right? Cells, if you were to tell something is living, the very first thing which you detect is cells. That's why it's called basic structural and functional unit of life is cell. Some organisms are unicellular, single-celled organisms, or some are multicellular. Cell is composed of several organelles which are formed by different organic molecules. Then hierarchical levels of organization of living things can be constructed by using relevant examples at each level. Right? Okay. I hope you all have understood, and we'll move on to some past questions. Right. How many years ago did life originate on Earth? Now you can switch on your mics and tell me the answers.
3.5 billion years.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, it's 3.5 billion years. This is 2022 structured essay question, right? Okay, 3.5 billion years ago. Right. Then, this is also from the same year. Mention 3 main methods that can be used to maintain food production sustainability. You have to have sustainable food production. Can someone tell? We have discussed the issues pertaining to biology. Sustainable food.
Production of high yield varieties,
Yeah,
production of disease resistant varieties, post harvesting methods.
excellent. Yeah, yeah. So, producing plants and animals varieties with high productivity or high yielding plants and animal varieties. Right? You have to give that meaning, and better to use the exact terminology. Right? You're being taught, right? Producing plants and animal varieties with high productivity or high yielding capabilities, right? Then producing plant and animal varieties resistant to disease. They should be resistant to disease, right? And number 3 is improving post-harvest technology methods, post-harvesting technologies. That is all. You will get 3 marks. You might see this is less, but you have to score, no? Somehow you have to score. That is, out of this 1,000, you are getting 3. But that's how you score marks, right? Small by small proportions. Okay. Then next question. What is the main contributor to the excessive consumption of Earth's natural resources?
Increase of growth rate of human population.
Yeah, very good. Increase in the growth rate of human population, or the rapid growth of human population. Right? This is the answer they have given in the marking scheme. It's 1 mark. Then next. Okay. 2 characteristics that can be seen only in living organisms are 2 characteristics. So 2 characteristics should be mentioned in one stem. Right? So you can see all 5 each have 2 characteristics each. So what are those? Can be seen only in living organisms. Only in living organisms. Now we'll go one round first. Adaptation and growth. Yes, those things were mentioned in those 7 characteristics. Movement and irritability. Movement, was it mentioned? Not sure, no, it wasn't mentioned. That movement as a separate entity, we didn't talk, no, right? Did we talk? Did we talk? Is there a thing called movement here? Okay, fine. So it's a problem, but irritability we discussed. Growth we discussed. Adaptation we discussed. Change over time and evolution. We didn't talk anything about change over time, but evolution we discussed. Evolution in simple terms is changing over time. In very simple terms, right? Okay. Metabolism and reproduction we discussed. Synthesis and decomposition? No, we didn't discuss, right? We didn't talk about synthesis and decomposition as characteristics of living organisms. So, in first round, we can eliminate this part. Then what can we do? Now the question says, only in living organisms. We said crystals grow, waves move. So growth is there. So growth is not a dedicated thing for living. Crystal, non-living world, you can see growth. The crystals grow, right? Although adaptation is there, growth is not there. So one we can take out. Movement and irritability. Definitely movement was not mentioned, even though movement is a feature of, if the movement is taken as a feature of living, even the non-living things like waves, they do move. So that is also not there. So you can take that out too. Change over time and evolution. They both mean the same. You need two characteristics. Evolution is in simple terms change. That is also taken out. Metabolism, only in living. Reproduction, only in living. So the answer is number 4. Metabolism and reproduction. Right? Number 4. So that is the most suitable single best answer for this particular question. So can you see? It's not like you can't extract everything from the note. You have to think. You have to work accordingly. You have to work things out to get the best answer. Okay. Right. Then the next question. Anyone have questions? Anyone have questions there? Please ask in the chat, or you can turn on the mic and ask. We'll move on to the second question. We'll move on to the second question. The organisms considered to be the first to exist on Earth are. We talk about this. Now, first question. Yes, heterotropics were there, anaerobics were there, but eukaryotes were not there. Heterotropics were there, aerobics were not there. Eukaryotes were not there. Autotrophic? No. Anaerobic? Yes. Prokaryotes? Yes. Heterotrophic? Yes. Anaerobe? Yes. Prokaryotes? Yes. Autotrophic? No. Aerobic? No. Eukaryote? No. So answer is 4. Got it? It's simple. It's simple. You have to read the whole question, right? You have to read the whole question to formulate the answer, right? Right? Then, metabolism, growth and development are some characteristic processes by living organisms. What is meant by each of these: metabolism, growth, and development. We already discussed. You have to tell metabolism, it is the totality. This word has to be mentioned. All chemical reactions. Mentioning anabolism and catabolism is optional in your marking scheme, but you have to mention. Now, remember, don't write extensive stuff in your biology paper. You are not supposed to, and you won't get any additional marks for that. If the intended or expected facts are not there, you won't get any mark at all. Remember that. So you have to, now, this is not art paper. This is not about whatever the literature or art or political sciences or history or anything. This is biology, science. Science is based on facts, evidence. I'm not downgrading other subjects, but science is based on facts, evidence. If the particular point is there, you'll be getting marks. If you write extensive stuff, you won't get marks, believe me. When I was doing A levels, I couldn't write fast. My biology notes are horrible. My mother got scared whether I'll get through. Then it has been a problem to me, and I was going through the marking schemes, and I have realized they are considering the facts, not the passages, to give marks. If 1 or 2 words are there, the full marks are given. Believe me, you can score full marks for your biology paper just by mentioning facts. If you know those facts, now each essay question is given half an hour time. But it won't take half an hour. It's just 10 minutes or 15 minutes for a trained, skilled students to give a full mark answer for that. Believe me. Believe me. Only you are supposed to write those facts. Not a huge thing. You can do it. Believe me. And I'll train you for that. Right? So, metabolism, you have to mention the totality or all of all chemical reactions and that occur in living body. If all these 3 words are there, you will be getting 1 mark. Totality, all chemical reactions, living body. Growth, irreversible increase in dry mass of organism or body. If all 4 are there, you will be getting 1 mark. Development, again irreversible, that occur in the lifetime of an organism. If all 3 are there, you will be getting 1 mark. That's how the marks are scored. Right? Right? A characteristic feature possessed by living organism is irritability. What is meant by irritability? It is the ability. You have to tell ability or feature or whatever, you have to tell that ability of an organism to respond to stimuli. You have to be able to respond to stimuli coming from, these words are mandatory, external and internal environments. If all these are there, you will be getting full marks for the question. The ability for an organism to respond stimuli coming from external and internal environments. Right? Right. Then again, we are going to the same thing. Several characteristic properties visible in living organisms are shown below. Explain what is meant by each of these characteristic properties. Growth, right? We discussed. Irreversible increase in dry mass, organism's body. Development, we discussed it earlier. Reproduction, ability to produce or give birth to new offspring to ensure continuous existence of particular species, right? So those are the points that carry marks. New offsprings, and what is intended to ensure the continuous existence of particular. So that is the idea. You have to ensure, by reproducing, you are ensuring the continuous existence of particular species. Okay, got it? Right, fine. Okay, then next, what are the main characteristics by which living organisms can be distinguished from non-living things? You have to tell these 7 things we discussed, right? And the other question is, write the organizational levels of living matter in the correct order. I specifically mentioned the year 2009. There in the answer scheme, these 2 items were there, but now it's not considered in your hierarchical system. They wanted you to put subatomic particles and atoms. But from 2017 onwards, they are looking for these molecules upwards, right? I just wanted to show you, right? If you write this answer in your 2026 or 2027 paper, these are wasted. No point. They are not given any mark. We are starting from this onwards. You can write, it's not wrong, but you are wasting time. What's the point? Sometimes keeping these things in mind, you might forget something here. Then you won't get full marks. What's the point? Right? So remember that. Okay, we are concluding the class. This is our number, mobile number. And now from next week onwards, we'll be starting paid classes. Please follow the channel. I would have sent the channel link to everyone. Right? Now here onwards, I'm looking forward to publish all the Zoom links and everything in the BioBridge channel. In your WhatsApp app, in your updates part. If you go to WhatsApp and in your update section, there should be a channel of BioBridge, right? There should be a channel. I have sent you the link. Just check your WhatsApp and get yourself added to that channel, because I can't add you individually. I can only send you the link of the channel, so you have to add yourself, right? And payment details and everything I'll put in the channel, and the recording will be given. I'll post the recording in the channel as well. So hereafter, everything will be posted in the channel itself. If there is a difficulty, please send a message to this particular number, 070-319-8449. And if there are any interested people, please send this number to them, and they can inquire about classes from here onwards. Every week, Wednesday, we'll be doing the class. But if you have a difficulty or if you have anything, just let us know. We'll have a poll in the group, and we can arrange. Now, I'm also a doctor. I'm having a little busy schedule, and we'll consider my convenience and your convenience as well. And we'll come into a conclusion about the date of the class. And if you have any questions, you can ask now. Okay then. Since there are no problems, but still you can drop a message to this number and let us know. And we'll be starting classes from next week onwards. Okay. Thank you. Good night.